Hi, good evening, everybody. Well, I've just seen my face on camera. You will have to excuse my very poor headscarf. That is not the point of this discussion anyway. You are welcome. Please bear with me. Because this is actually my unknown platform, I am going to share this to one or two other of my pages. I will invite other people to join us so that I don't have to repeat this broadcast. I want to do it once and once only. So bear with me. I am going to go into this video, share it. Well, somebody's already found us. Hi, you're welcome. Please bear with me. I am looking for the video so I can share the video to my main pages, and then we will kick straight into it. On this platform, we talk transformation, we talk about change. We do change management. And today I am actually talking about changes and compensations to be made in health. That's what I'm discussing. Things to do with health. But because it's health and because it affects a lot of people, I do want to post it to a few places. And when I finish posting, we will kick straight into the discussion. I don't want to miss out anybody, so people will come back requesting repeats, because that tends to be a difficulty for me, because it means that I dedicate more time than I intentionally or originally wanted to. So bear with me. It will cost us 2 or 3 minutes max, and then we will start our conversation. Whilst I'm doing that, could you also do me the favor and can you shoot it to your networks for me? Can you put it on your page? Please share the video. Can you invite other people to come join us? Very important as well. And we are nearly there. 2 more pages to shoot it to. And once I've shot it to those pages, we are up and running. This is not an entertaining video. It's not intended to be entertainment. It is intended to be educational. It is intended to be life transformational. So, I am going to share a few things with you. Ange, hi. A lot of you have heard me talk about high cholesterol. A lot of you have heard that I'm fighting to reduce my cholesterol. I have not made any secret of this for quite a while. And so a few people went and looked up high cholesterol, and it says that it presents no symptoms. I am one of the lucky ones. Mine did present symptoms. I was very lucky. And I'll tell you some of my symptoms. Some of these symptoms can be confusing because it's similar to diabetes and its symptoms. It's similar to other things and their symptoms. I had to go through a whole series of tests. I found an ear infection. I've become more susceptible to ear infections. And if you are not careful, you will read it as just a symptom of the ear infection, and it is not. So let me tell you what happened to me. Maybe 18 months ago, I started feeling a bit lethargic. But I was just coming from a period of grief. I had recently lost my dad, so it could have been. But I had come out of a ketogenic diet. And in my exit of the ketogenic diet, I was stupid, and did not exit properly. Martha, hi. Hi, Jibri. I was stupid. I did not exit properly. I should have taken care of some fundamentals before I eased off. So I started introducing in some carbohydrates whilst maintaining the high fat intake in some things. Obviously, when you do that, the fat is stored instantaneously. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that's how I picked my lipid profile. I know exactly what caused my problem. I was the cause of my own problems. I do know what my issue was. It was pure stupidity. I cannot blame anybody for it, but I did. And because of my own stupidity, because I was careless in exiting a very good program. So the program had worked very well for me. I had lost loads of weight. I had maintained my weight, but I got careless and complacent, and that is the cause of my issue. Okay. So what happened was I exited the program stupidly, made choices which spiked my cholesterol level, and this is how I knew I was in trouble. The symptoms, when you read them from Google, are textbook symptoms for me. understanding cholesterol problems. So I've gone to webmd.com, okay, and I've gone to a page called Understanding Cholesterol Problems because I want to make this a reference. It says high level of cholesterol in the blood doesn't have obvious symptoms, but it can increase your risk of conditions that do have symptoms, including angina, chest pain caused by heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and other CV ailments. It talks about yellowish growths or lesions on the skin. Because I'm dark, you will not see any of that. Hello, Adia. Adia, you've really made my evening by that post to my brother. God bless you. It talks about a lot of things, but one of the key things was the symptoms. How to detect that you might very likely have high cholesterol. That you will need to be mindful of the cholesterol content of your blood. And these are some of the symptoms. You may develop symptoms of heart disease, stroke, arteriosclerosis, and other blood vessels, blood vessels, such as the left-sided chest pain. It's one of the classics. Pressure or fullness. I felt that too. Dizziness was mine. Dizziness. Unsteady gait. You may even experience slurred speech. Tingling in the legs and arms. That was one of mine too. Tingling. Hello. Hi. And it's very interesting in the sense, so that the thing with unsteady gait was an interesting one. And that is a confusing one because I am somebody who's prone to ear infections. And when I get ear infections, yes, I become quite unsteady. My speech becomes a bit funny. I don't think any of you has actually worked out that my speech was a bit funny, but there was about 6-8 months ago where my speech, internally, I knew that it was not as clear as I wanted it to be, as I insisted it should be. The funny thing is, it only takes recently watching what I eat, recently going on the Juice Plus diet, recently fortifying what I eat and easing off on some fatty things, that I've actually started seeing gains in the symptoms, improvements in the symptoms of my cholesterol. And that's the reason why I keep telling you guys that I'm confident that end of this month, when I take my cholesterol, my lipid profile test, I expect that it will come back much better than it was 3-4 months ago, 6 months ago. Because I can already see the symptoms improving. Hey, have you realized you don't have family members? Today they all jump through the door. Right, today I just wanted to start the discussion from that point anyway with my ailments, but it is very funny when you start researching, when you see that you have a problem with cholesterol. Hello, Rhoda. When you have a problem with cholesterol, cholesterol becomes your prime focus. You want to eradicate cholesterol, you want to deal with cholesterol. I am about to break a big bomb. What was my problem with the cholesterol increase was not just the fact that I was stupid in exiting my high-fat diet program. Nope. It was also because my stupidity caused an increase in insulin resistance. And this is the big demon, insulin resistance. Let me run through insulin resistance with you. I am not going to teach you how to suck eggs, but I'm just going to run through basics just in case we have somebody who is new to this. Insulin is a hormone. It's a hormone your body releases under a condition. Usually after a large meal, when you've digested a lot of things, most carbohydrates, when you digest it, would be broken down until you get to glucose. Glucose will go into your bloodstream. It will create shock for systems if your glucose level is too high. So one of the ways your body deals with this is to release this hormone insulin into your bloodstream so that the excess sugar is taken into cells like your liver and into muscle cells so they can use it. And if it's not possible to use it, it can be taken for storage. Insulin is critical in controlling your blood glucose level. But the funny thing is this. Insulin, like any injection into the blood. Hello, coach. I do see you. Thank you for joining. It's really nice to see you. Insulin, like anything else which is foreign, released into the body. Your cells would see it the first time it's released. Your cells will become really excited and they will obey everything insulin asks them to do. And then if you are one of those people who eats carelessly, you release large doses of sugar 3 times a day. Your body is flooded with insulin 3-4 times a day. These are called insulin spikes, high increases, high dosages of insulin. And as your cells are experiencing these insulin spikes, the novelty wears off. It is no longer new. It happens every time, 3-4 times. Your cells are less likely to be very obedient to insulin and to behave the way you want insulin to cause them to respond. The response to insulin becomes diminished, and that's the beginning of your problem. That is the condition called insulin insensitivity. You are funny in the sense that you are releasing insulin and wanting your cells to respond, but your cells are sick and tired of you doing the same thing all the time. It is called insulin resistance. Any kind of resistance is a rebellion. Your cells are rebelling. They've had enough. They see insulin all the time. It's like screaming and shouting in your house to your very young kids. You scream and shout all the time. It becomes part of the background, the soundtrack to their life. They switch off and they just ignore you when you scream and shout. What can you do? It's the normal screaming. What's new? And that's exactly what happens to your cells. Your cells get used to seeing insulin all the time. And your cells get sick and tired of the insulin spikes and the regularity of it. Nanama, hi. Amina, hi, Rhoda. They get sick and tired of you flooding every single time. So when insulin floods, your body's like, okay, been there, done that, got the t-shirt for it, what's new? Your problem is that the insulin is not causing the removal of the sugar the way your body needs. So your organs are struggling even though you are producing insulin. When you go have a test, they will tell you that there is nothing wrong with your insulin production. No, you don't need insulin injection because your body is actually already making enough insulin. You are not a born diabetic. You are somebody who's developed diabetic from carelessness and lack of understanding. When the book says, for lack of knowledge, my people perish, you will understand that from this discussion today. I want you to really understand. So insulin resistance is a name given to when cells of the body don't respond properly to the hormone insulin. Insulin resistance is the driving factor that leads to type 2 diabetes, gestational diabetes, and pre-diabetes, which is what most of us are on at this stage. You may not have seen any symptoms. You may not recognize a lot of things, but a lot of us at this age are pre-diabetic. Sometimes you go take a blood test for something innocent and then it comes back. But most of us, we have no idea we are heading towards there because we never test. We never check. You have to have your MOTs. You have to have your MOTs. Those body MOTs will let you see that things are increasing. Things are creeping up. And if you see things are creeping up, you may still have time to do something about it. Hello, Alfred. Hi. It says insulin resistance is closely associated with obesity. However, it's possible to be insulin resistant without being overweight or obese. So I had a conversation with somebody today, and the person says to me, but I'm very slim. Like, yeah, you can still be intolerant even if you're slim. It's not fat people like me only who are predisposed to these things. If you are slim, you might fool yourself to think that all is well. And might not necessarily be well. You want to check and you want to know. So take this from me. This is not only a fat person's condition. This is not an issue for fat people to worry about only. No, it is not an obesity illness. It can be for slim people too. Skinny people can still be insulin intolerant. So listen. It says modern research has shown that insulin resistance can be combated by treatment methods which reduce how much insulin the body is producing or taking via injections. So if, like people who become insensitive, resistant to paracetamol, when you stop taking paracetamol, oh, Elizabeth, is interesting. A lot of us stop taking sugar and we think we are done. We are ridiculous. If you have a bowl of rice, my dear, when you finish digesting it, it is definitely going in your blood as sugar. When you eat your cassava, when you finish digesting your cassava, it is going to flood your system with sugar. Even plantains, even innocent looking ones like carrots, the ones which contain carbohydrates. When you break down carbohydrates, one of the things you get is glucose. Glucose is sugar. So you may not have eaten processed sugar, but you have eaten things that would digest back to sugar. Sister, you have not avoided sugar. You are still flooding sugar. You are still flooding sugar. And it is these myths that I want to break. I really want to break some myths with you today. Oh, Nana, hi. Oh, really? You are welcome. Thank you for coming. Transformations, as the name suggests, is about change management. And we are changing different things. Sometimes we are changing health. Sometimes we are changing finances. Sometimes we are changing attitudes, general attitudes or specific attitudes. But transformation is where I talk change. It's really nice to see you. Thank you. Your presence is definitely positively felt. So Elizabeth, stopping taking sugar alone is not enough. You will have to watch your carbohydrates. So those of you who are on my page, Transformations, go find, there's a group called Body Transformers by Amma Manson. 2 days ago, I started talking about glycemic index. Glycemic index is something we use to evaluate foods. We use to check how much carbohydrates per gram you get from foods. And it helps you to work out certain foods which will flood your system with a lot of sugar and cause your cells to release loads of insulin in response. And there are certain foods that might be nutritious but does not contain the high load of carbohydrates, and for that reason your insulin load is going to be low. It is those low glycemic index foods that you want to consume more of. Things that are high in fiber, things that are high in nutrients but very low in glycemic load, like the cauliflower. So you will find that I talk cauliflower a lot these days. Even cabbage has a low load. You have to be watchful of things. Green pepper is a low load, but the yellow and the red pepper are quite high. You will get 3 grams from the green pepper, but you will get 5 grams from the red and the yellow. So sometimes not all the colors are innocent the way you think they are. For lack of information, my people perish. If you understand this fundamental, the way you choose your meals, the things you put in your meal, the things that you take out could make a critical difference between the load you put on and the insulin spike or otherwise that you experience. It's really important that you understand. If this is your first time of hearing about glycemic index, I suggest that straight after this video, you go to YouTube, or if you're a reading person, go to Google and look up some articles. You really want to understand glycemic index. You want to understand the GI load for specific foods. You will find that at the moment, I am no longer eating corn banku. I am eating cauliflower banku. The reason why I am eating cauliflower banku is because cauliflower is low in glycemic index and corn is high. I don't want to flood insulin into my system, because I know from just a little bit of research that most of my problems, even though I am not pre-diabetic at the moment, everything I am seeing suggests that I need to be mindful of my glycemic load so that I do not become insulin intolerant, so that my symptoms will improve. A lack of paying priorities, my people, die. You couldn't have said that any better. Samituga, you are welcome. You couldn't have said that better if you tried. Thank you for that, Nana. So it says the modern research shows that insulin resistance can be combated by methods which reduce how much insulin the body produces. And these methods include understanding your glycemic index from the things you eat and making sure that the foods you eat fill your belly but does not spike your insulin. The insulin spikes, that is your real demon. That is your real problem. That is what brings the diabetes. That is what raises your cholesterol level. That is what does a lot of things to your body. Sammy, it's really been a long time. It's nice to see you. Reducing glycemic insulin resistance can be achieved by low carbohydrate and ketogenic diets. Please don't jump on any ketogenic diet unless you have taught yourself properly. Don't start the diet unless you've taught yourself how to exit. That was my problem. I learned how to start the diet. I did the diet successfully, but I did not learn how to exit properly. So my exit was not clean. And a lot of my problems were actually created in the exit and not the program itself. You have to be very careful. So the role of insulin is to allow cells to take in glucose to be used as fuel or stored as body fat. It also means that glucose is more likely to build up in the blood, and this can lead to too high blood sugar levels, which is a problem for all major organs because blood goes everywhere. When the body becomes resistant to insulin, it tries to cope by producing more insulin. Catch 22. Your cells are actually sick and tired of insulin, so your cells are ignoring insulin. So insulin is not impacting on your blood sugar level the way it should. Unfortunately, for the rest of your cells, this simple thing is not understood. Your body thinks that you are not making enough insulin, and that's why your cells are not responding. So your body floods your bloodstream with even more insulin, and your cells become even more sick and tired of insulin, and they become even more resistant to insulin. And you begin to see your pre-diabetes and your diabetic symptoms because your system is tired of insulin. But the more tired your system becomes of insulin, the more insulin your cells produce. Catch 22. And you've got to work really hard to break that cycle. Oh, thank you, Rhoda. Akos, you are welcome. Thank you for joining. There's a condition called hyperinsulinemia, and if you do hyperinsulinemia, you would understand what I'm describing a little bit more. Hyperinsulinemia. Check it out. We all need to learn. We all have a lot to learn. What I'm doing here is just drawing your attention to things. It is not exhaustive. You will have to go back and do a little bit more research. You will have to go and find out a little bit more to add to what I've done here. What I'm doing is just a stimulus. It is by no means going to be exhaustive on what I am discussing. You will need to expand on what I'm doing here in order to understand enough to be able to apply this meaningfully to your life. So, symptoms of insulin resistance. Take your pens and paper ready. I think there's a lot of things coming up that will shock you. Symptoms may only start to appear once it leads to secondary effects, such as higher blood sugar levels. But this is what tends to happen. You become lethargic. You are tired for no reason. You are always exhausted. Hunger. Hunger for the sake of it. Snacking because, not really for any reason, but stupid hunger. Uncontrollable hunger. Difficulty concentrating. Brain fog. And how many people in their 40s will tell you they begin to get brain fog? It's the beginning of insulin resistance. It really is. Weight gain around the middle. I am looking at my middle and I'm looking at the weight gain here and like, ka-ching. High blood pressure or higher blood pressure, you may not still be in the risk zone, but your blood pressure will increase from what it used to be. You need to be aware of them. High cholesterol levels. Do you understand what I just said? Higher cholesterol levels is actually a symptom of insulin intolerance, insulin resistance. Oh my God. Insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the reason why your cholesterol levels begin to rise. Oh my God. That's my response when I first found out. Oh Lord Almighty. Oh Lord Almighty. Because it's not something I would have connected ordinarily. I would not have made those connections. But they are definitely correlated, for sure. If insulin resistance develops into prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, the symptoms will include blood glucose levels and more of the classic symptoms of type 2 diabetes. We will discuss type 2 diabetes later. It says the exact cause of insulin resistance is still not fully understood. However, we have known risk factors, linkage factors, and they include this: being overweight or obese, having a high calorie diet, high carbohydrate or high sugar diet. A lot of us will tell you, I don't eat sugar. But you eat a lot of corn. But hey, you eat a lot of yam. But you eat carbohydrates. Carbohydrates make 95% of what's on your plate. Hey, you are typical African. You don't eat vegetables. Oh, you are in trouble. High carbohydrates is high sugar, my dear. Because when you digest carbohydrates, it breaks it back down to sugar. glucose. Go check it out. When you digest carbohydrates, you invariably get glucose. So not drinking soda, not drinking Coke or Pepsi, not putting sugar in your tea alone does not mean that you are not getting high levels of sugar in your blood. Taking high doses of steroids over an extended period of time, the sedentary lifestyle is definitely a precursor. Cushing's disease and polycystic ovarian syndrome. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And the more you read about insulin resistance, the more you will make connections with things that you probably would not have connected. There are a lot of things. So I've told you a lot of things which are in my personal profile. And all these things suggest that my problems actually did not start with high cholesterol. It did not. My problems did not start with polycystic ovarian syndrome. No, it did not. My problem started with resistance to insulin. My cells ignoring. And it says in terms of what's happening inside the body, that causes insulin resistance. Researchers have observed that insulin resistance occurs in people that have one, high levels of insulin circulating in their blood every time, aka people who eat carbohydrate-centered diets, excessive fat stored in the liver and pancreas, and high levels of inflammation. So you hear me talk about ginger and putting in turmeric all the time into my smoothies as anti-inflammatories. This is one of the reasons why I am busy doing ginger and I'm busy doing a lot of turmeric. I am hoping, I'm hoping to reduce inflammation. Chronic diseases are all caused by inflammation. So if it's possible for you to cut down on inflammation, then you are actually holding off these diseases. You might actually treat some of the things that you have. It sounds really, really scary when you first read about this, but the effective methods for combating insulin resistance, and number one is a low carbohydrate diet and or ketogenic diets. Nobody's looking for their best interest in Ghana. Bibi don't value and some are cowards. Nana, it's scary. When you first come across these things, I've had conversations with people today and the people are like, what's the hope? Well, there is still plenty of hope because it's actually possible to reverse, especially if you are very early diagnosis. It is possible to reverse. It's possible to reverse this by making significant changes in your diet. It is possible because you will learn about glycemic load and you will look up things that are low in glycemic index. And you will incorporate those things in your normal diet. So you will not use cassava to make your fufu. You will replace it with cauliflower. Yes, you will take out the rice and you will buy cauliflower rice. You can even make fried rice with cauliflower rice and nobody will tell the difference. There was a period on my ketogenic diet where everybody in my house actually did eat cauliflower rice. I will make fried rice with my cauliflower. I will put it on my plate where the rice would have been. I will put my meat and I will fill it with vegetables. It's a full meal. Nobody actually did feel that they were losing out on anything. But instead of having the high glycemic load with a plate of rice, they were having the very low glycemic load with a plate of cauliflower looking rice. Do you guys understand? It is making replacements with lower glycemic load foods. When you want to do peppers, if you want to do paprika, you would use the green paprika and not just the red and orange ones, because the green ones would only give you 3 grams of carbohydrates. The red and the yellow ones will give you 5 grams, almost double. So you will be very careful with the yellow peppers. You will also be cautious with the red ones. You will be more generous with the green ones. You will understand that you can take out certain things and replace with them. You will put kale in your food because it is nutrient dense. Yes, you might even start making kale contomere stews. It will still be green. You might add a bit of spinach, but you will replace part of the spinach with kale. You will look at certain things and you will take certain things out because you finally understand food. We eat from ignorance. We only go from taste. We don't understand composition, and that behavior has to change. That behavior has to change. And it will change only when you learn. It will change only when you know. You will take out certain things. People make a lot of noise about zucchini. I have friends who no longer eat pasta. They make zucchini pasta. It fills their plate. It looks like pasta, behaves like pasta, tastes like pasta, but it is zucchini, and zucchini is nutrient heavy, low glycemic index. When I have time today, I'm going to post about 4 or 5 YouTube videos onto this page. Some of them will talk about glycemic index. Other ones will talk about nutrient density. Others will talk about substitutions and making choices, augmenting what you originally would eat. It will tell you what you can replace with rice, what you can replace with potatoes, which vegetables you should eat, because not all the vegetables are actually innocent. Some of them look innocent, but they are not very innocent.
What is that called?
Let's find somewhere to put them. It's okay. Do you guys want to make chili, the blend?
Sure.
Yeah? And put the fish in it. And give it 5 minutes in the microwave, and then we will start grilling. Yeah? Yeah. Ghanaians pay for coaches, mentors, and consults. Pay for coaches, mentors, and consultations. So, otherwise, you will pay for doctors. Otherwise, you will pay for therapists. Otherwise, you will pay for people who will treat you when you are no longer capable of living a meaningful life. Otherwise, you will deal with stroke in your 30s. It's becoming the numbers are ridiculous. When I was a younger kid, the people who were stroke patients were in their late 60s, early 70s. Those were the people getting strokes. Then at some point, it became people in their 50s getting strokes. I am kidding you not. There are people in their 30s, 20s at the moment dying of strokes. And it's all because we think we become affluent. We have seen a lot of things from Caucasian diets, and we think that we can add those things to our high carbohydrate load, and it will be fine, and it will not be fine. There are so much I could tell you on here. It was really difficult for me to pitch this particular session and pitch it at a particular place, because there were so many places that I could have gone to. High protein diets could actually also increase your insulin intolerance. Did you know? Too much protein in your diet could make you insulin intolerant. Go have a look. Go have a look. There are so many things that you could go, insulin resistance and prediabetes. Please, when you go to websites, make sure you go into credible websites. Make sure you go into websites of universities or of hospitals, of medical associations where the information is likely to be verified. This one from niddk.nih.gov is a good one because it's talking about insulin resistance and prediabetes, but it breaks everything down for you, and it's a question and answer type. What is insulin? It tells you it's a hormone. It is made in your pancreas, and it helps glucose in your blood enter cells in your muscle, in your liver, and it is used for energy output. It tells you where glucose comes from the food you eat. Ta-da! When you eat carbohydrates, it will digest to glucose. Ta-da! The fufu is one precursor for insulin intolerance because it's full of carbohydrate. Ta-da! Banku is very similar too. Contains corn. Corn starch is one of the highest glycemic index foods. So if your breakfast is cocoa made from corn, and your lunch is kinky, and your dinner is banku, the way we eat it, God Almighty, if your portion control is not on point, you are in trouble. Even if you don't eat the kinky in the afternoon and you replace it with rice or pasta, spaghetti, whatever, God Almighty, you are loading, you are asking for trouble. You are still asking for trouble. Yes, you load things with green pepper, you put some red peppers and you add carrots and you add a lot of things and you think you've made a salad. God Almighty, you've made a high glycemic index salad. It's possible to make a salad which is still very high in glycemic load. Do you know? So not all salads are salads. Not all vegetables should be combined with other things. And the only way you would know this is if you learn. pay either with your time or a health coach to steer you. You do need one. You do need one. My health coach was on. Her name is Felicia Rich Lady Habia. Please go have a look. But I'm not even just doing what my coach says. I actually do research and I am learning for myself so that what the coach says makes sense to me and I understand the reasons why she tells me to avoid certain things. So this article says the glucose comes from the food you eat. The liver also makes glucose in times of need, such as when you are fasting. Lord Almighty. So you do your high carbohydrate load and then you decide straight to fasting into starvation mode and back to high carbohydrates. You are asking for trouble. There is intermittent fasting. There's a lot of information about intermittent fasting, but please do research intermittent fasting before you start. There are certain diets you should not combine with intermittent fasting because when you do your fast, your liver might end up producing more glucose than you actually realize. There is so much going on, so much you need to understand in order to pitch this right, so you don't create a problem with your zeal to fix one, really. When blood glucose, also called blood sugar levels, rise after you eat, your pancreas releases insulin into the blood. Insulin then lowers blood glucose to keep it in the normal range. That's what should happen. Insulin resistance is when cells in your muscles, fat, and liver don't respond well to insulin and can't easily take up glucose from your blood. As a result, your pancreas makes more insulin to help glucose enter your cells. And as long as your pancreas can make enough insulin to overcome your cell's weak response, your blood glucose levels will stay in the healthy range, but your pancreas also gets tired. It gets sick of you. Ghanaians don't pay, so nobody is bringing a new revival renaissance. Just their second-hand home good garbage. Oh, God Almighty. God Almighty. Pre-diabetes means your blood glucose levels are higher than normal, but not high enough to be diagnosed as diabetes. I said that's what most of us are. Pre-diabetes usually occurs in people who already have some insulin resistance or whose beta cells in the pancreas aren't making enough insulin to keep up blood glucose in the normal range. Without enough insulin, extra glucose stays in your bloodstream rather than entering your cells, and over time, you could develop type 2 diabetes. It tells you who is more likely to develop insulin resistance, and the first group should have been Ghanaians, really. Adia, you eat bread and rice like crazy. And that might explain why you think you're doing things, but it's not quite impacting anywhere. You might as well be drinking soda. Yeah. We need knowledge. Because sometimes with the best of intentions, we can actually do a lot of damage from ignorance, really. So these are the precursors. It says overweight or obesity. For me, Ghanaian would be the first one. African would be the next one. If you are Ghanaian, you take box 1 and 2. Overweight and obesity, age 45 or older, a parent, brother or sister with diabetes. It's there. It's actually there as point number 4. I am not making it up. Point number 4 on this document says that if you are African American, Alaska Native, so this is obviously with the American, this is an American document. So it's explaining the people in America who are likely to be, but it says African American, my dear. The word African is there. African Americans became African Americans because they were brought from Africa to America. So if you are black, Afro-Caribbean, or might be black oriented in some way, listen up. We are genetically predisposed because of the way we ate traditionally. Combining those things with things that are not traditional diets is what got us here. It's here. African American, Alaska Native, American Indian, Asian American, Hispanic, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, all those things. But African is right there. It was the first precursor because we are the ones who show the greatest intolerance of them all is from people like us. When you know and you understand this fact, you become more careful. You should be more careful than your white friends because your risk factors are much significantly higher than your Caucasian friends. Your Caucasian friends, they might eat a lot of rice. They will not experience what you experience, so be very careful when you're eating rice with them. Your Chinese friends, their diet was always genetically linked with rice. So Chinese will eat rice, but they will not add other things. They will drink hot water. There are a lot of things that go with the Chinese diet. We've all adopted fried rice, but we did not adopt their genes and we did not adopt their other practices. And that's why we are all in trouble. Really, really. Oh, there are many levels to this. As I said before, Nana, I made a disclaimer before we even went further. I told you that what I am doing is only a stimulus. It is not possible for one broadcast to delve deeply enough. I want to spread wide, so I catch a few things at the surface. I am not delving. I am not delving into anything. I am only scratching the surface for you. I want to stimulate thoughts, and I want you to go off and learn and discover as a result of this. You add the juice and soda also to the rice and bread. Oof. Physical inactivity. History of heart disease or stroke. Polycystic ovarian syndrome. So you see, I am ticking a lot of these boxes. I am overweight. I have a parent, brother, sister. My mom has diabetes. I am African. I am not physically active. Yes, history of heart disease or stroke. And I am polycystic. And once you see these things, it tells you my risk factors are significantly higher than average. And I will need to start working hard, very hard in fact, to override and overcome some of these things. People who have metabolic syndrome, a combination of high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol levels, and large waist size are more likely to have prediabetes. And thank God that you did the program, so you know a lot of us haven't got the foggiest what this is about. A lot of us have no idea. So we are trying to become healthy, but we are doing the wrong things in trying to become healthy. And the wrong things we are doing in the quest to become healthy sometimes even does more damage than not doing anything. For lack of knowledge, my people perish. I mentioned that statement earlier on. I keep referencing them as we go along. You have to know to survive. You have to understand so your choices are informed. And because your choices are informed, the way you act would definitely be in the right way. Please bear with me 1 second. Cut each one into 4 or 3, depending on the sizes. So high cholesterol level and a large waist are more likely to end up with prediabetes. So I was very complacent, and I've said this on record many times that I'm not diabetic, that my blood work was not indicating any problems with sugar. But the fact that I've got problems with cholesterol means that the problems with sugar is coming. My mom is a diabetic, so I need to be smart. I need to think. I need to be careful. I need to watch things very carefully. And that's why these days you see me busily trying to replace cauliflower for corn. I'm trying to make my bankus and my fufus or my tozafis with carrots and all sorts of random things. I'm doing those things because I have finally understood that my risk is higher than average. Angelina is a nurse, so she says she learns those things on her program. If all of us were nurses, it would have been great. But some of you are just as ignorant as I am. Hello, myself. Hi. I am discussing an uncomfortable topic, but we are talking about what causes insulin resistance and prediabetes in the hope that we will all understand. One of the things I found here, and it comes back to the same word, inflammation. Long-lasting inflammation in the body. Inflammation may play a role in insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. So please start looking for things that are anti-inflammatory. Your cheapest one is ginger. Every smoothie I make in the morning is full of ginger. When I cook, it's full of ginger. It's ginger everywhere because ginger is a powerful anti-inflammatory. If you are the kind of person who eats and you are always farting, That's usually a sign of inflammation in the gut. Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
For the fish, do we put it in a plastic bowl and heat in microwave, or?
If you can find a glass bowl, you'd even better. So take one of those big glass bowls, put it in, and fire out. Okay. I was talking about anti-inflammatories. I will share only 2 with you. You can go find other ones. My favorite of the anti-inflammatories are ginger and turmeric. I live by it. I swear by turmeric. When I first came from Ghana, not this summer, the one before, with my dizziness, and I had no idea that the dizziness was also linked in with the high cholesterol levels. The doctors in Ghana had absolutely no idea. The ones here found an ear infection. We treated an ear infection. They gave me something for vertigo, and the vertigo subsided, but it doesn't mean my problem. You are eating and always fat. Is it inflammation? Inflammation is not necessarily fat. But listen, some of you, your stomachs are big because of the gas you accumulate in there. And it's usually because of inflammation. The gas is a response to the inflammatory response. Have a look. Go in and have a look at the inflammation response. It is one of your immune system responses, funnily enough. It is your body's way of responding to foreign particles. We have your physical defenses like your skin, which stop things from getting in. You have things like tears in the eye, which wash them off. You have saliva in the mouth, and you have all these things. Those are your first line of defense. Physical barriers. Your second line of defense, and one of the key things in your second line of defense is inflammation. There is inflammatory response. Go have a look at what happens to your blood vessels in the inflammatory response. You will be surprised. Go and see what your mast cells do in the inflammatory response. Again, you will be surprised. You will see a lot of things, and you will see redness, and you see a lot of signs and symptoms of the inflammatory response, and it will help you understand. This video will not delve into that one because that's so narrow. Remember, my strategy for this video is to broaden, but be very shallow on a lot of topics. Oh yes, Nana, they have to pay for free knowledge by supporting. Yes, I could sit here and I could explain and I could do videos on this one, but unfortunately, how much time do I have? I have to work. Yes, Ohima, I actually do have a medical background. I am a disappointed doctor. Should have been a doctor a long time ago. Yes, and I actually do teach health at the moment. So yes, it's not an area I'm coming from ignorance. Most of you would hear that I am classed as a physics teacher, but I'm actually a triple specialist, so I am certified to teach all 3. So I do teach this in facts, but I'm not hoping to go into that depth. I just want you to listen to my inflammation response, and I want you to be curious about it. Go to Google and type in inflammation response. It is part of your immune system responses. Second line of defense. Go read it. Go have a look. You will be surprised. Then you will understand. Then you will connect a lot of things, and you will have the oh my God moment. Alithea, you are welcome. A lot of us should have had that oh my God moment a long, long time. Inflammation is one of the reasons why we have chronic illnesses. A lot of the organ failures we see is due to inflammatory response. Prolonged and sustained inflammation is asking for trouble. So if you find anything which is anti-inflammatory, it is definitely an arsenal to add to your weapons. You have to go find other things. If you hate ginger, look for other ones. I love ginger, thankfully. Amefua, I see you. Please, let's talk when I'm done. I love ginger. Didn't love turmeric, but I realized that I need turmeric. And because I need turmeric, I have come to love turmeric. The smell of turmeric was a little bit difficult for me initially. The yellowness of it was also off-putting. It had a funny taste at the back. It always tasted like a curry for me because I had only ever tasted turmeric in curries. But I have come to overcome those. I realized that my health is more important, my life is more important than taste. And at the moment, I don't mind it. I actually like it. We should pick up the iron. We need to exercise. We do. We do need to exercise, for sure. 3-4 months ago, before I started my Juice Plus journey, I had numbness in my fingers, and it was actually quite scary at times, and I had tingling in my legs. Those were some of my symptoms for high cholesterol. And so the other time I said to you guys that I'm quite confident that when I do my blood work at the moment, it should be an improvement, because I am not seeing those symptoms as exaggerated as I was seeing them at a certain point. Nothing should be ignored. Even when you feel dizzy. Dizziness is one of the symptoms of higher cholesterol levels. Did you know that? Did you know that? Have you realized from watching me today the connection between your elevated cholesterol levels and your insulin resistance? It is a connection most people don't make. It took me a while to make. I expected that my cholesterol levels would be built because of other things, but insulin resistance would not have been one of the things that I've checked out. But I'm a prime candidate. I am a prime candidate. I tick almost all the boxes. Tick, top. So it says, how do doctors diagnose insulin resistance? My dear, only one way: blood tests. You will have to go run some blood tests. I'm having mine end of this month. But what is important for me is towards the end of this article, and it says, how can I prevent or reverse insulin resistance and prediabetes? Because it is reversible. It is very, very reversible. One of the things I'm doing in hope of reversing is using the Juice Plus stuff to fortify my smoothies and to reduce my consumption of high glycemic load foods, to look at nutrient-dense foods, to replace, remove, and alienate some things from my diet. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Eating Caribbean foods to Indian food, spices and curry. Chili in itself. So people were asking me, why am I eating things with chili at the moment? Because chili is one of the things that you do to get your body to stimulate certain things. Your body responds quite positively to chili. Chili, when used right, could actually help you in reversing and treating some of these things. Removing your high glycemic load foods, definitely something you should do. Dancing and chasing your children around. Was your dad not calling you, Nanaya? I'm sure he did.
He did?
Go check out. So today, I didn't want to be the angel of doom, but today I wanted to be the sounder of caution. Beware that ignorance doesn't kill you. Beware that you don't make foolish assumptions about certain things. Beware that you don't eat things irresponsibly. Beware. Make sure that everything that goes in your body is very thought of. Everything that goes in your body is well understood. That you understand the impact before you consume. Because not everything is as innocent as it looks. Your orange pepper, your yellow pepper, your red pepper, not as innocent as your green. So if you want to do paprika, green paprika might be better for you. If you're looking for carotenoids, getting it from turmeric might be better than getting it from carrots. Beetroots are good for you for a reason. Go check them out. They are nutrient dense. There are reasons why you see kale in most healthy eating foods and cauliflower in most healthy eating foods, and you think it might be an accident. It's not. It's from knowledge of glycemic index. Understanding just glycemic index is not enough. You need to understand the interplay between proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, really, to be able to plan your diets properly. And if you know that you have not got the foggiest, you need to go see a dietitian quickly. You see a nutritionist. You need to tell them you are African and you don't eat Caucasian food. You will need to tell them exactly what you eat. Oh, this is a lovely one. Let's see. So this is my son.
Do we reheat?
About to make. So this is fish being made in my house at the moment. Nana is the cook.
Minister as well.
You are a minister. Okay, where's the lazy one?
The lazy one? She's not helping as usual.
You better go and get her. Don't allow her to sit and be the lazy one. Here. All this is just chili.
Do we reheat?
Chili, so it's pepper, chili pepper, ginger, onions, the usual blend on fish. And now this is going to go in. Can you turn them around so the other sides also experience the chili?
Which one has the experience?
The bit at the bottom. Look. There's barely any chili at the bottom. So turn them round. And then after that, it's going in the deep fryer. And we are good to go.
Wait, the deep fry?
Yes, sir. So this is fried fish for consumption in my house at the moment. Those who want to eat banku and can eat banku are going to eat it with banku. This one here is going to go make cauliflower banku. And this one is going to eat it and enjoy it just as much as those of them eating it with the other stuff. We don't make a sauce with oil anymore. It is all chilies because I'm trying to use chilies to stimulate systems. We only have few saviors in our current diet, chili and ginger. Some of the things are not too bad. I mean, we do have things like pumpkins. So I'm talking about you are coming to your home ASAP. Yes, please come. Please come. I'm getting to a point with them and it's really exciting in the sense that Nana is learning how to cook things and easing my troubles. It's the changing of the guard in my house. I used to be me cooking and making everything, and at the moment they are becoming more independent and I am getting a little bit more time and more rest for this aging body because it's ailing, it's tired, it's exhausted. We have pumpkins. I showed you guys that I was eating pumpkins the other day because it's also quite low in glycemic index. That's the reason why I was replacing my yam with pumpkins. You should check that out. We have things especially in our traditional diets, not in the modern Caucasian infused funny thing we've got. We want to pretend to be affluent but not quite understand what we are adding to the traditional, so we're making some fundamental mistakes. The ones we have, nobody's teaching them. Yeah, pumpkin is a fre. My grandmother used to eat it. My great-great-grandmother would have eaten it too. And they ate those things instead of cassava, instead of yam, instead of cocoyam sometimes, and it helped to reduce their load. Because they did high carbohydrates, they knew not to combine high protein. High protein, high carbohydrates equals disaster, especially if you top it off with high fat the way we do. And that explains why we have all these illnesses becoming so wintia. Absolutely. He wouldn't know, but we use it all the time. It's in my kitchen. He knows the spices we use. He's the one who makes the blend. He doesn't quite know their names, but he knows what they look like because even I don't know their names to tell him. And when I tell him wintia, it doesn't really mean much to him. So we call them slim fingers. He takes some slim fingers, he adds to the round ones, and he adds the small ones, and he blends them. But he can definitely blend them. So anyway, today I had a few videos earlier on, maybe last year, towards mid last year, towards end of last year, thereabouts. I used to do the powerful 6 of spices. And the reasons why they were the powerful 6 of spices, I think you should definitely check those things out. So this broadcast was supposed to be a scratch to the surface. Please understand that this is not enough depth about anything I have discussed today. Is just a scratch to the surface. What you should do after this scratch to the surface, especially if you are one of those who has those precursors, you are one of those people who needs to be careful, then you need to go back and you need to delve deeper into those things. You can do it yourself, or you can consult people. There are a few people in our community who do diet and nutrition and can coach you. They can help you. You have learned a lot. Thank you, Ohima. That makes me up. Because sometimes before I switch the cameras, I wonder whether I am pushing it way too high for people, whether I am pitching it right. I don't want it to be a repetition of things that you already have heard before, because that's a waste of time. I want it to be new learning. I want it to be new thinking. I want it to push and challenge you. But I also need to be careful that I don't push you too far, that I don't scare you by some of the things that I review. It can be very scary because it's about our health and it's quite personal, but it's stuff that we need to take on board. It's things that we need to challenge, because whether we accept or acknowledge it, it is still happening to us. And it is better if we learn about it, if we regulate and control things. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you've not shared the video, this one is really important to me that you share for me, because this is a health one. It would affect a lot of people who might ordinarily not even realize that the Transformation Change is my page, or they might not even know about me or want to watch anything I say. but they might be the sort of people who need to listen to this message and realize that there are certain things that they need to be aware of. Can you believe that there's no dandelion tea in African Mats near? Oh, but of course, do we even know what dandelion is? To us, that is grass. 2-3 weeks ago, I started introducing wheatgrass to my smoothie. So somebody sent me a message. Ama, are you aponche? Why are you drinking grass? Like, how do I even explain this one to you? I should be aponche. I should have been aponche a long time ago. Because I wasn't aponche a long time ago is why I am here. So yes, I should be chewing grass. Thankfully, I am even able to drink it and not chew it. So leave me be and let me chew my grass, drink my grass in peace. What's wrong?
I just stopped my elbow in the door.
Can you be careful, please? Oh, thank you, Adia. Thank you. You are a sharer, and I'm very grateful. Can the rest of you please share the video for me? Hit the share button. It doesn't cost anything, but might save somebody's life. Might change the way somebody thinks. Might transform somebody's understanding. And I like to transform the understanding of the people in the kitchen before anybody else, because they are the ones who determine what everybody else eats. The people in my family, they are making changes based on my understanding without even knowing and understanding half of it. The people in my life will benefit. What's wrong? Hi, what are you after? You just wanted to hi? Hello. All right. I was hoping to open the page and to share one last time before we go. Can you also do the same thing for me? Just load it one last time. Can you shoot it out one last time? Put it on a few more groups and a few other places and tell people that this is not entertainment by Amma. This is education by Amma, and she's hoping that this is life-transforming education by Amma. I did not send it in Messenger, so I've just opened Messenger. And I'm just shooting it out to 1 or 2 people I know might appreciate the message. Can you do the same for me as well? Please. 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 I want to send it to my Messenger group. Yeah.
Wait.
Now.
Do we then put it in the black one?
Which black one?
The black fry or the white one?
The black one.
Black.
Yeah. So I have done everything I can do right now. I have shared it to all the people I know will appreciate it. If you know anybody else who will appreciate it, anybody else who could do with the knowledge, anybody else who needs to be aware of what's going on in their bodies, just as I did. If you have the fat belt in your middle, it is usually the first problem. You have the pot belly sat in your lap, it is your next issue. Nana says, Amma, please inform all your Juice Plus colleagues, come for networking consultations. Okay, Nana, can I come for networking consultations? Because I do need networking consultations. I could really learn a thing or 10 about networking. I am really rubbish at it. Marketing is not one of my talents. So please, if you would want me to be your first guinea pig, Ras Kotoka Ras, good evening and thank you for joining. Because of people like you who've only just joined, I'm just going to recap very briefly. I was talking about diet and health, and today I was talking about insulin resistance. I wanted to explain what insulin was. It's a hormone. Your body makes it so that it absorbs excess glucose from your blood. Excess glucose is not good for your organs because it sends them into shock. Okay? But insulin, once it's produced, too much of it is produced, put mine to one side and distribute between the rest of you. Once too much of it is produced, the very cells that you want insulin to behave to begin to become naughty. They ignore insulin, and that's when your cells are described as insulin resistant. It's not that insulin is not being produced. They are just naughty. They don't do what insulin demands that they do. And so your cells ignore insulin, your pancreas makes even more insulin, and it floods your system and it causes problems later. Those problems are linked in with your cholesterol levels, they are linked in with diabetes, they are linked in with a lot of other things. Hello, Eric. Good evening. And so today I took the time to actually connect certain things. The things you eat, the things you don't eat, the exercise you don't do, the understanding you don't have about certain things. A lot of people think sugar is just sugar. Carbohydrate is sugar in the making. Every gram of carbohydrates you eat, when you digest, will become blood glucose in the end. So carbohydrate is sugar. Eating yams is eating sugar. Eating potatoes is eating sugar. Eating banku is eating sugar. Eating fufu is eating sugar. Eating most of the Afro-Caribbean foods is leading to sugar in the end. And that's why a lot of the Afro-Caribbeans have got that high predisposition towards diabetes. You want to drive us, mate, you need weight. Trying to shoo us in any direction is difficult, but it requires persistence. Believe me, eventually it does work. Keep going. You and I need to consult for each other. You teach me what you know, I teach you what I know, and in the hope that the two of us will become better for it. So let's talk. Let's talk. Eric, I greet you too. I welcome you just when I was also about to say thank you very much to everybody. I think this is more than enough for one session. There's a lot to think about. I think you need to be very pensive after watching this one. You need to be very thoughtful after watching this one. You need to go back and reflect on the things you eat and start recognizing the things that need to come out of your diet and the things that you need to replace them with. If you take things out of your diet and you don't replace them, you will be hungry and you will go back to those things. You need to find effective substitutes for the things you are taking out so you don't miss them in your diet. And when you do that, it becomes a lifestyle change and it's more sustainable in the long term. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for inviting other people to watch, because you might be saving lives by that. I'll be back on tomorrow. Maybe I will delve in deeper. If you guys want me to go over certain things in particular, send me those requests. And if I get people requesting a particular thing, then I will delve deeper into that side. Adia says, thanks for the knowledge. My pleasure. You will need to be nice, healthy lifestyle to yourself, absolutely, and for your family. Mate, if you are not healthy, you cannot help your family. You need to be healthy, alive, and working so that you can keep providing and taking care of them. Remember that. So keeping yourself healthy is very important for your family, especially those of us who are breadwinners in our families. Your family needs you to be healthy and well and here to continue earning so that you can buy bread and you can find provision for all of them. Irresponsibility towards your health is irresponsibility to those people that you are responsible for. Remember that. Oh, bless you, Adia. You are way too kind to me. Honestly, please, as soon as I come up this one, come to me and let's finish that order. I need to sort you out. I love you too much to withhold things that I've learned from you, and I need to make sure that what needs to be done is done. I am committed to that, and I intend to force you to be committed to that as well. I need you to make... Oh, it's a knowledge worth paying for. I've paid for some. A lot of what I've shared with you today comes from courses that I've taken, studies that I've done, time that I have dedicated to finding out even more. So yeah, it is information worth paying for because it's information that could transform lives. Adia, call me. Angelina and I, we are well on our way. We've got our products and we are busy changing and augmenting our schedules to fit it. And I want you on that with me. Call me as soon as I'm done, or WhatsApp me as soon as I'm done. And let me sort you out on the orders. Let's start looking at the smoothies and the compositions of the smoothies and make sure that you are ready, detoxing before the products arrive. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you soon.